This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 112. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Matt.
I'm Kevin Moyer.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Jamie D.
God gave me a gift. I shovel well. I shovel very well.
And Peter is still on assignment in New York City.
That's right.
Dun, 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 dun.
So, this episode of Comic Geek Speak is sponsored by the Pittsburgh Comic-Con, April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Guests include Brian Michael Bendis, Tim Truman, George Perez, Mark Waid, Michael Turner, Mike Avon Oming, Angel Medina. So it's actually got quite a good list of people here.
Yeah.
I think it's a Jim Balance only East Coast appearance.
Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor, Tom DeFalco.
Howard Chaykin, Adam Hughes.
Oh, Adam Hughes, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
There's tons. I mean, that's just a mere fraction of who's there. I mean, we're just...
And Ray Park is going to be, Darth Maul for all you Star Wars people.
Oh, damn, I was hoping it was the guy who did the Ghostbusters theme.
It's
You didn't get enough.
Yeah.
You didn't get enough of that in the bar.
And we're going to be there, and this time we have our own booth, which is very cool.
I'm very excited.
Maximum Glory to... Remember how that one right next to Mike had those people dress up? We should have Maximum Glory come up and do some Luke Cage for one day, and then...
Shield is it?
Shield and
Nick Fury.
So it looks like it's going to be a great show. The people who run it are really nice, and
I have heard nothing but good things about this show.
Yeah.
Every time people mention Pittsburgh, it's always what a great show it is. It's it's a medium-sized show. It's not a big show. It's not a little show. Just always very fan-friendly and just
Lots
great
of fun.
things. You've been out to it, haven't you, Kevin?
No, I've always
Really?
wanted to go out to it and never hit it.
I don't think any of us have ever been to it.
I really wanted to go out because I always wanted to meet Gil Kane, the guy I always wanted to meet, my favorite Marvel artist, my favorite comic artist growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sadly passed
Passed-
away, so I
unfortunately passed
never.
away.
And so that's my regret for not going out when I should have.
And that's what I always know Perez always does. George
Yep.
Perez is
Yep.
always doing that one every year. And so it's always the one place you can go in the East Coast that he's definitely going to be there.
And I doubt that anyone's gonna, but Peter's gonna be first in line, I think, because he fills up fast for sketches.
You kidding me? Peter's going to be calling all over the hotels, finding out where he is.
Peter better get a sketch from him.
Yeah, I'm.
Well, he has to. I mean, he has to finish that.
that
Peter-
trifecta.
Peter's working on a trifecta of
Wonder Girl.
Wonder Girl pictures. He has one of one by Nick Cardy.
Yep.
For like the Nick Cardy was doing the Titans. He has one from Phil Jimenez from when Phil Jimenez was doing the Titans. He just needs a George Perez, and they're all pretty much the same style. I mean, same headshot, but it's just really neat. And he's got to get that and finish that.
Well, and I know the Phil Jimenez one says Phil Jimenez after Cardi at the bottom of his,
Mhm. Yep.
and try to get. Hopefully, George Perez would do the same.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I almost wanted the commission, and I just can't afford to get a commission from George. But if he can get a sketch, man, whew.
Yeah, he better pony up the $50 or whatever it is, or 25 or
and
whatever the hell he charges.
if I remember right, at Pittsburgh especially, when you pony that up, it goes to one of the it's either actor or comic book legal defense fund. I can't remember which. Yeah, that I remember Scott saying that when Scott Powers went out there one day.
Yeah, I think certain artists decide to do that. They'll then donate their time and money.
Yep.
I've seen that before at other shows.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
too.
Yeah, Baltimore-
Bermudas have done that already. And
Yeah, Baltimore did that too when we were down there. They were doing everything that, every signature you were supposed to, donate, and a lot of the sketches too.
So you can get a great piece of art from your favorite artist and write it off as a tax return.
Can I have a receipt for that, please?
Hey, here's your receipt to sketch.
All right, so that's Pittsburgh Comic-Con. So let's move on to the New York Comic-Con.
Dum-ba-da-dum.
Show wrap up.
Wrap up show.
I thought it was amazing. And I suppose I should preface that by saying what went on the show floor was amazing, or otherwise some people will want to shoot me.
They still want to shoot you since you got in, but that's
I say that because of the commotion on Saturday. For all those people who haven't been reading the internet stuff, they were expecting between 15 and 20,000 people to attend over the course of all 3 days. On Saturday, 20,000 people showed up on Saturday alone and tried to get in. And they were letting lots and lots and lots and lots of people in. And then the fire marshal came and said, no more. And then the state troopers were suddenly all over the place, pulling the strings, doing the crowd control. Yep. They went from being the show employees who were doing crowd control to being all the union security guys who were being bossed around by the state police that were doing all the crowd control. And then they stopped selling tickets. Even people who had pre-ordered and prepaid for tickets were turned away. Now the show has said anyone who bought a ticket online and could not get in will get a full refund, and will also be getting a free pass to next year's New York Comic Con. That is what Greg Topalian, the director of the whole show, went on record as saying in an interview. So I'm sure details on that are to follow. So if you were there and couldn't get in, you got a free ride next year. But other than that, and all the people that were complaining, I got stuck in the line, man. I went outside to greet my friends who were coming, and then I had to get in the line and waited 2 hours to get back in because they were doing the whole 100 out, 100 in, 100 out, 100 in thing.
And tell people who you were standing with, just so you don't think that they were...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was some guy named Dan DiDio who couldn't get in either, and some other guy named Paul Levitz. I don't know. He was having a problem getting in.
Did they ever do anything? I've really never heard of them.
No, I don't know. They're just some guys. So it wasn't like they were... It was... Because it wasn't, at that point, it was no longer the convention people who were in control. It was the union and the state police and the fire marshal. And so they don't care who Dan DiDio is.
Bodies.
They're like, it's a body count. You're not getting in. It's unsafe. So that was...
Can you say Eric Larson was out there, too?
I didn't see Eric Larson.
I thought
but
you said he was out there, too.
He could have been. There were a lot of people.
I've heard that. I've heard that he was out there, too.
Well, because anybody who went to a panel then couldn't get back in.
Right.
Because once you were out, you couldn't get back in.
And those of us that were inside, I missed all the afternoon panels completely.
Because you didn't want to leave.
Didn't want to take the chance.
Yep.
So, I mean, yes, it's unfortunate, and it was a bit of a blight on the con, but that didn't prevent what happened inside those doors from being an amazing, amazing convention.
And it was a testament to how great that con is going to be.
Well, and how
hopefully
badly New York needs a con.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are saying, well, see, this proves that New York can't have a con. To me, it proves that New York has to have a con. And it needs to be twice as big because people are clamoring for it. That's why 20,000 people showed up.
Yep. Somebody on Sunday in line said, if you would have told me that the Jacob Javits Center couldn't hold everybody, I would have never believed you. And it's true. Just because of the space that they allotted, they didn't estimate at all.
Yeah, they only had 1/4 of the Javits Center for the con, and next year, they're hoping to have at least half of it because that's what they need, and we'll see.
It was amazing.
I mean, I've been to the New York comic shows in the early '90s at the Javits Center, and they were always good shows. And it wasn't until the end where there was another company that was doing conventions on the East Coast, and they started booking dates the same time that they were booking the dates for the Javits Center. So they're trying to compete with each other. And what ended up happening was Marvel and DC, the big exhibitors of the shows, looked at it and said, you know what? You're trying to force us to choose because we can't go to both. And we're not going to play favorites, so we're not going to go to either of them.
Yeah.
So now there were shows, you had these conventions that the two big guns, I mean, this is the early 90s, didn't show up at all. So, but they were still cool shows. But that was the last one I remember going to was like 13 years ago. So that's how long there's been since there's been a big New York con. So it's been too long.
But man, this show had everybody.
Yeah.
Man, there were so many people there.
It had people I never expected to meet at all. I was amazed. I fulfilled lifelong dream by meeting J.M. DeMatteis in person, Keith Giffen, and Kevin McGuire, and I was amazed. It was so cool. They were right together. One of my favorite moments ever.
I had a ton of favorite moments in this weekend. I mean, it was just nonstop. I mean, and I could have had more, but I couldn't clone myself.
Yeah, right. I know.
Yeah.
We had little enough sleep as it was.
Jeez.
All the people that I talked to. I mean, it's good. If there weren't 6 of us or 7 of us at that show, we never would have made all the connections that we were planning on making because we had to divide and conquer because it was insane.
Yeah, 2 of us would go here, 1 would go here. You know, anytime we got in line with anybody who was, anybody, we were, shoving a card in their face. I had a couple times. Oh yeah, I already got a card from one of your other associates. Oh, okay. Well, I was in line for Phil Jimenez when he said that, and I got him to sign it, and he had broken his line into 2, 1 for sketches and 1 for autographs. And I had Infinite Crisis #1 and Otherworld #1. So I just got him up there, and I knew I was going to have a quick couple minutes just to do the pitch and give him the card. And as soon as I said, I'm from Comic Geek Speak, we do a podcast, he said, oh yes, somebody else gave me one of your cards. And I was like, okay, well, we divide and conquer. We just make sure we blanket, and I talked to him a little bit. But everybody I talked to was really, really nice.
Yeah.
And just the amazing number of people that actually had heard of us.
And every artist, creator, anybody was pleasant as can be.
Absolutely.
There was not one sourpuss in the bunch.
I can't remember a show that I've gone to where there wasn't at least one guy that you went up to and you said something to. Even notorious sticklers such as Neil Adams and even Jim Steranko, who I've heard we went up to him, we talked to him a little bit. He wasn't interested in doing the show, unfortunately, but he was still a really nice guy. Peter and I got him right before the end of the night on Saturday night, and it was kind of neat because he was sitting there. There was a guy with a portfolio, and he was talking to him about it, and he was taking his time. He was going over this stuff, and it was really neat insight just to listen to what he was saying to this kid. And he was brutally honest, but he was doing it in a way that it didn't
seem offensive.
Yeah, it didn't hurt the kid's feelings, or it didn't. He was criticizing yet encouraging at the same time, saying, this is what you should do. This is what you're doing wrong. But if you do this, and it was really neat. And we got a chance to talk to him for just a little bit, because he is from Reading, and like I said, even a guy who I've heard some bad things about was pleasant as could be, and I think everybody really came away enjoying themselves.
Well, and I've heard the same things about Neil Adams, and you mentioned that, and I went up to him with one of those kind of archival Batman Neil Adams books they just came out with, and I took the first one, and I walked up to him and I said, would you mind signing this? No, my pleasure. And we talked for a few minutes, and I told him how much I liked that they came out with these to collect everything, because I don't have many of those issues. And I prefer it in that format since I had the opportunity. And he was just great and gracious, and I actually respect him for something. We always talk about people bringing 50 books for somebody to sign, and he had the perfect idea. First 2 free, $3 for every signature after that. Perfect. And it was right. You had people getting through fast, and he was pleasant the whole time. I didn't hear a bad story in the bunch.
I gotta say, that would be one of my suggestions for Comic-Cons in general, is just to kind of have a general number. You want autographs, signatures, 5, whatever it is, and then you get out of the line. If you have more stuff, you have to get to the back. That way, I understand people are going up there and they're seeing somebody that they really enjoyed their work and they want some signatures, but don't bring up their entire run that they did on a 50 issue. That's ridiculous to them, first of all, because they're signing just for one person all freaking day, and then also everybody else in the line. So I'd like to see kind of a common 5. Get to the end of the line if you want more.
Well, on Sunday especially, I thought this was supposed to be all during the convention, but on Sunday, they were you had to check your bag. If you brought a roller, you had to check it. You were not allowed to bring a roller in. Strollers were okay for kids, but you couldn't bring a rolling suitcase in with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's a hard and fast rule at San Diego.
And to me, that should be a hard and fast rule at every convention.
Absolutely. If it's not on your back, don't bother.
But I thought, no matter who you went to, you had the opportunity to go there. It wasn't like there was lines that wrapped around the whole convention floor. I think because they had so many people, it provided an opportunity that it spread it out a bit.
And now maybe next year Artist Alley will be designed a little different, but that was the most congested. But that was only because of the space limited to stand and wait. But nowhere did I feel like I was waiting hours and hours on end.
If they double the space they had this year, they could make the aisles a bit wider. They could expand the Artist Alley space. They could expand all the spaces and make it very accommodating and very easy, and to allow more people in and still have a great show.
It was so thrilling to meet and talk to so many different publishers that before the show I would have never done. So and even new people, but then to meet the people that have supported us and helped us out, and we've talked about them, it was thrilling to meet all these people face to face. I loved it. I had a blast.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody, we met so many people that we've dealt with on the show but hadn't met in person. I mean, we all finally got to meet Mike Norton.
That was probably one of my highlights.
Yeah,
him and Jay Torres.
A huge thank you to Mike.
Yeah, he let us hang out at his booth, and we were there a lot.
Hang out at his booth. I think we took it over.
And
he was very gracious when he was
allowed to hang out
at
our booth.
Yeah, there's a couple times he came over and said, "Don't get up, don't worry
get up.
about
I'm
it."
only being here for a minute." Jay Torres was very gracious as well. He was hanging out there.
He's a writer who writes
Teen Titans Go, and he has a Degrassi couple graphic novels coming out this fall and next spring.
I had a laugh when Mike went up for one of his signings. A couple people came up to me asking me if I could do a couple drawings.
Yeah, I had
for
one of them.
in the seat.
I even had one of the guys from Portugal came up. The one that gave you the stamps. His buddy came up and said, "Well, would you look at my portfolio?" "I'll take a look at it, sure." and he was good.
His buddy's going to be doing some stuff for Dynamite.
Nice.
Some covers or something for Dynamite. So he's, you know.
Yeah, it was worth a trip then.
Yeah, he had some great panel layouts. Like of course, he was an artist, so he had all his drawings and all his pages that he did. And there was one, and I giggled at the end, and he goes, "You got that?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "That's hilarious." And I said, "I loved it." And he said, "You could follow it?" I said, "Absolutely." He was good. He was very good and very decisive in storytelling.
Watching Mike draw.
Oh,
I know.
And Kevin, you said it first, and then when I watched Mike draw the next time, I realized he is so natural and so fluid. When he was doing his little blue lines, like no mistakes. I mean, he just and it was perfect.
Yep.
That guy.
He can draw, man.
I stood for a little bit on Sunday. I was walking around and I saw Mike was at the DC booth, and it was him and Jay Torres, and he was doing sketches at the DC booth. And so I became that which I hate. I walked over and started talking to him while he was doing the sketches. And actually, he was talking to me because it didn't seem like anybody else was talking to him while they were getting the sketches done. So he was like talking to me. But just sitting there watching him, you know, they came up and it was basically all Titans. But still, of the like 4 sketches I stood and watched him do, they were all 4 different Titans. They were all done in under like 5 minutes. Now they were headshots, but still it was like zip, 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 zip. There you go. And God, they were gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yep, I bought a page from Teen Titans Go for my boy who loves Teen Titans, and I'm so excited to give it to him at some point
His
in
boy
the near
named
future.
Shane.
My little boy
No,
named
my
Shane
boy
Jr.
named Ben. Come on.
And I put my order in for the Mike Norton commission.
So did I.
I finally did it. Watching him draw was it. I was like, okay, I'm not wasting any more time.
Full page, backgrounds, the whole 9 yards.
I'm building up. I want the Blue Beetle that he posted on. That's what I want to get a commission of.
So yeah, I'm very anxious to see what he comes up with, and
you had a very interesting idea for yours.
I talked to him on the phone today and cemented my thing. He's doing Gravity and Speedball versus the villain of his choice. So whatever he's in the mood for, cool. Whatever strike, like he's gonna. I said, there's no hurry, so you just let it sit in the back of your head for a couple weeks, whatever, however long it takes. And when the light bulb goes off, that's what I want, because and I have no doubt that it will be stunning.
Yep.
I can't wait. And
we also met Andrew Sharpar. He does some of our Freckin' Swears for us. Mm-hmm. He and his buddy Todd and another guy.
Ramel.
Is that his name, Ramel?
Ramel, yeah.
Have Roxbox Publishing or Comics or whatever the name of the company is, Roxbox. They were, first of all, they were hilarious.
Yeah, they're cool.
Those guys were a blast. And then, second of all, Key Fu Fighters. Oh, man, that book, I didn't get to read it yet, but we got a copy, and is sweet ass art in that book. I mean, this is what I'm talking about when I said, independence that I overlook, and you don't. But once you get it handed to you, now it's a whole different story.
And
Damn.
he did exactly that. They had how many copies they brought to the show, and they gave them out.
All
they did not
out,
charge.
all day long. On Sunday, they were still giving them out. They gave away probably thousands of I don't know how many, but it was just one after the next, totally free. And see, that's what I've said that in the past before. Like, I understand it's not easy for independent publishers to give away 1,000 free comics.
Sure.
But you want to get people. That's a good way to do it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I took a lot of free comics to read.
Yeah, get the book into people's hands.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. And
that's right.
If you can afford to at least put the first issue into their hands for free, you should really do it because it's
it's thinking long term.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, they walk away with a free comic. They didn't, you weren't charging them for it, and they're going to remember you. It's just and it looked like almost an all ages book. I didn't look at it that closely because I just didn't have a lot of time. But it, like Brian said, it looked like a clean, tight book, and hopefully it'll do well for him. Just like to see that.
I was standing there one time, and a gentleman came up to me and said, "Hey, Shane." I'm like, "Hey," and we had a lot of fan Geek Boy moments where people were coming up, and here it turned out to be a gentleman named Scott Neely, who listens to the show, and here he draws a lot of the Cartoon Network comics for Johnny DC. Scooby-Doo, Powerpuff Girls. He draws Courage the Cowardly Dog and a whole bunch of other stuff. And we're going to be doing some stuff with him, I think. I have to email him and thank him. He also turned me on to a couple of his friends who do Buzzboy, which is an all-ages book. And we're standing right behind Mike Norton talking about this. And Mike Norton hears Buzzboy, and he turns around and he says, "Buzzboy is awesome." Like, well, I'm sold. That's it. I got 2 people, and I've heard about it. I'm going over. I went over and met them, pleasant people, and I got a copy of the book, and I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, I had a couple moments like that. One moment, Peter and I were standing at a box of comics, just looking through the comics, talking, and we were wearing our convention T-shirts. I was wearing my convention T-shirt. I think Peter was too, anyway. And this hand slaps me on the back, and it says, "I'll see you guys at Pittsburgh." I turned around, and there was this African American gentleman looking at me, and I had met so many people. I thought it was just one of the fans, and I must have had that look in my eye, like I didn't know who he was. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm Jamal Eigel. As soon as I heard the name, I knew who he was. He's like, I draw Firestorm." I was like, okay. And he said, "Yeah, I listen to you guys all the time." And Peter happened to have his little iPod, iRiver, whatever. And on it, he's like, "Can we do a quick interview?" So he said, "Yeah, let me go get some food and do a quick interview." And here he listens to the show all the time, loves it. Was really happy to do an interview with us. He's going to do you'll hear it. I mean, we'll put these up, and he wants to do another call-in interview with us.
Wow.
He had copies. It was so cool. He had copies of Firestorm.
1 year later.
1 year later, the first issue, which doesn't come out for 2 weeks yet. He had them there, and he showed them to us. And then there were 2 gentlemen that were with him that were also doing stuff, and it was just amazing the number of people that we found out listened to us. And, I mean, we'd always been told that the industry is listening, but
Yeah,
we didn't
really
find out
out.
at what level until really this show.
Well, you came back, and you and Peter told me about meeting him, and I made a beeline right over to his booth, and I met him. And then later he was up doing signings at DC, and he was gracious enough to give me a little Firestorm head in my sketchbook. So,
that's cool.
So thank you very much.
Sadly, I didn't get over there in time for that. I would have loved to have
and
one.
he was a pleasant guy, man.
Yeah,
he was
is cool.
a lot of fun to talk to.
Because I ran into him before you guys did.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to him, and he was.
Yeah, he said, and he said he's signed a 2-year exclusive. So if you like his work on Firestorm, he's going to be there for a while. And he said there's another book that he's pitching with a character that he has wanted to work his entire life on, and he's hoping that'll come through too. So
excellent.
Cool. We met all the fine people at Devil's Due. Susan Bishop, we ran into her about 100 times, and
I got to meet Tim Seeley.
Tim Seeley and Josh Blaylock were there, and boy, all those people are so cool at Devil's Due, and
I'm going to yell at Crank for not coming because I listened to Crankcast, and Mike was there, but you weren't, man. What was going on with that? I know you want to move, but come on. Should have been there.
so they were awesome, and their booth was swamped the entire time.
Yep.
I mean, they had an endless supply of visitors, and they were selling comics like crazy. And they had those guys there doing free sketches. I was there. My friend Rachel got a sketch from Tim Seeley on one of the characters from Hack Slash, the girl, and then I was standing there, and then at that point the line had disappeared, and I whipped out a backer board and I said, "Hey Tim, how about So he drew me Driss Doran, the Dark Elf from the series of comics he's doing, the Dark Elf trilogy, where they're converting the novels from R. Salvatore to comics. And so we were talking about that for a while, and he drew me this fantastic sketch. I mean, he took his good time, and it was probably at least a 10-minute sketch, which is great. I mean, he didn't just like whip it out in 30 seconds or something. It was a nice, detailed sketch. So, Tim, thank you so much for that. It was fantastic.
You have to get him to do that sometime. When I went up to him, my book was back at the table, and I wasn't going to clamber him back through the crowd, but he was pleasant. I dropped a few dollars there. I picked up all the Hack Slash... something with the toys. I can't remember the title, but I picked up
the Land of
Lost Toys.
Something like that.
And
Gosh, I never remember because I'm confusing it with that like old, was it Laurel and Hardy or something?
Yeah.
So was it Island of Lost? What the hell was that? Laurel and
March of Wooden Soldiers.
There's Island of Misfit Toys and
what's that? I mean, that's
from the Santa Claus.
Santa Claus thing.
Oh, okay. I don't know. There's all kinds of things.
Heat Miser.
Yeah, but I dropped
I keep confusing all those names.
I dropped a few bucks and picked up Hack Slash stuff. Crank did a cover of that. Mike Norton had some stuff in one, so I picked up stuff.
Hack Slash is pretty good. It's something I didn't think I would enjoy, and then my friend lent me a bunch of copies, and it's actually kind of fun.
Well, it was turned into a play of some sort out in Chicago, and now it's getting turned into a movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they just signed the deal for that movie.
And then we also met April at Desperado Publishing, and April was like jumping up and down. She was so excited, and it was great. And she was super pleasant, and she was very excited, and we were very happy to meet her. And
I met Joe.
Yeah.
And the gentleman's name escapes me. That's doing the Hatter M.
Yeah, I have his book and his card, and I'm going to read the novel. And it's they were super nice people.
I got to meet Chris at Top Shelf finally. That was thrilling. I had a good time.
You hadn't met him before?
No.
Really?
Nope.
Yeah, Chris and Alex Robinson was there too, which was cool. They had a little special sale for the retailers and like press people for the 12 to 4 session on Friday, and we went over and I decided to pick some stuff up.
Yep, me too.
And with Alex Robinson there, I had picked up. They had a hardcover version of Box Office Poison, and I picked up that. And he took it and he put a little sketch in it, and he personalized it to me. Pardon me. And that was so cool. I mean, just to get a little something like that happening, to support again a good friend of the show, and it was really neat, I thought.
I also talked to people at Del Rey Books and Pocket Books. We all talked to people at Pocket Books.
The Pocket Books loved us.
Yeah, they were really cool
Matt.
too.
I talked to the guys at Corgi.
Matt almost got a date out of the Pocket Books.
Matt's still working on getting a date out of Pocket Books.
The guy at Corgi was pleasant, and we're going to be talking to him about doing some
everybody
stuff.
was. I mean, everybody I ran into.
And Gene Colan.
I was waiting because that was
I waited till Sunday
joy.
to talk to him. I waited the last day.
That was thrilling.
And I could have sat there all weekend with the guy. I mean, he's just so cool.
He's cool. His wife is so sweet and loving, and she was so happy to meet us when we first went over there, because I think I went over on Friday night to say hi, and she was just like, thank you.
The enthusiasm coming out was amazing.
It was so good, and I do want to make an announcement. Gene Colan is taking commissions.
Yep.
So if you didn't hear from him when we first did the interview, he was just that booked that he couldn't get to you. They weren't blowing you off on purpose. They were just that booked. So if you didn't get a response and you still want a commission, it's totally open. They said that he is doing nothing right now. So show some love. If you wanted it the first time, you still want it. So, get in touch with him, GeneColan.com, I think it was.
Yeah, it's just GeneColan.com.
When me and you went up to him, Brian, there was a fan, two in front of us, that talked to him and said, I heard your interview on the podcast, and had to start learning about you and came over to say hi, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I picked up his Shadows book and had him sign it, and he was very gracious.
Yeah, his wife told me that they have received numerous emails about people who have, heard his interview and had to go and talk to him or request something from him or just say hi to him and just wanted to get in contact with him. She said they're still getting emails from it, so that was really cool to hear.
The coolest piece of history I was privy to with Gene on, I think it was Sunday. I finally decided I brought the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror book that he had done for him to sign. It was just about the only book I could find in the short amount of time I had to find the books. Anyway, I'm standing there in line, and I see Keith Giffen walking up with his walking up with his daughter, and they're standing there, and he's just like, just wait, I want to talk to him for a second, and right in front of me, the guy's there, and Keith walks up and says, "Can I just jump in for a second?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And he just leans down and says, "Thank you." To Gene, takes Gene Colan's hand and says, "Thank you." First of all, doesn't introduce himself, but I think that's just Keith Giffen. It's just the absent-minded professor. Doesn't introduce himself, but just says, "Thank you. Without you, I would not be in comics."
Wow.
And just, to hear a creator of his caliber say that about another creator is just, it brought a smile on my face. And like I said, I don't think Gene knew who exactly he was speaking to because so many people were doing that. I mean, but it was just neat to witness that and to hear another creator say that about him.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I sat there and talked to him for probably over an hour, and I could have spent the whole day there, and he would have loved it just as well. He was asking me questions just as like I was asking him, and just a glorious. Him and his wife are just beautiful people. They're great.
Absolutely
beautiful.
Yeah, we got a picture taken with them. We'll put that up on the on the site. You'll see that. But
Saturday was my day.
Yeah,
that was my special day.
Yes,
spill the beans, Kev. Spill the beans.
At the pop culture stand.
At my buddy Guy LaCharles has popcultureshock.com. And he's also a Moon Knight fan like me, and he got to interview Charlie, which is the best Charlie Houston interview that I've ever read ever since he's been brought to the spotlight in the comics industry, and I say it to this day. So I knew he was doing a signing over there at 1:30, so Matt, Jamie, and myself went over there, and we were waiting, and I was talking to Guy while we were waiting in the line that was sitting there for him, and Charlie came around with his wife, and then he went over and sat behind the booth, and we got back in line, and he started to sign posters and talk, and then Matt went up and got his thing signed, and then Jamie, you got your thing signed, and then you said, "Oh, by the way, thank you for
we're Comic Geek Speak,
for doing the show." And then he looked and saw our shirts, and he was like, "Oh, wow!" And he's like, "Hey guys," and stuff. And then immediately he turned and looked at me, and I thought, "Uh-oh, this is it. This is the breaking moment."
He goes, "Where's Kevin?" That was like, "Where's Kevin?"
And then Jamie's like, "There's Kevin," and Charlie got up, and it was one of those moments that Guy was standing there, and he just said, "Wait a minute, I got to get a picture of this. Charlie Houston and Kevin Moyer together." And Charlie just stood up, grabbed my face, turned my head, planted a kiss on my cheek, and Guy took a picture of it. And it was just brilliant. I mean, it's just brilliant. And then we just took another picture standing there together, and he was great. I mean, he was just such a wonderful guy. I mean, so very, open and vibrant and a fun guy to sit there and talk to.
It was neat. I mean, as soon as he jumped up, I was like, "What's gonna happen?" And then that big kiss. Oh my God! I laughed for 5 minutes. I know. I was just sort of laughing and laughing.
He's great. He really is great.
I took a chance and walked up to Dan DiDio and handed him a card and told him a little bit about ourselves and said I like what's going on in Infinite Crisis and I'm excited. And he was very pleasant. He wanted to know if this was going to force him to buy an iPod. And I said, well, and he said, "No, my kids are trying to convert me. I'm kind of holding out, but I guess maybe I'll have to break down and get one soon." So that was a cool few minutes.
Yeah, like he doesn't know who we are. Come on.
Let's not get too big of a head.
So then...
so continue your Moon Knight weekend.
Yeah, this
here.
is my Moon Knight weekend. So after, I spent that time with Charlie, and he was more than willing and able to sit there and talk to you and whatever. So I sat and talked with him for a while. Then I was like, I'm going to head out and let other, I didn't want to interrupt the booth and stuff like that. So I went back, and then Matt and I took our books, because I had taken my Moon Knight #1 and also number 25 from the first series, because I knew Bill Sienkiewicz was going to be there. And I thought, by the chance that hopefully I can see him, because I tried to meet him like 13 years ago, and he eluded me, whether intentional or not.
The elusive
He knew you were
The
a psycho.
forces were working against
But
you.
I figured if he's there, and hopefully I'll get to talk to him, maybe I'll have that slight chance. And he was over at the Vanguard Publishing booth, and I went over on Saturday, and Matt and I went over. And we sat there, and there was hardly anybody there. And
That's amazing.
one guy who turned out to be Steve from Palisades
That's
was there
right.
getting
That's
a sketch
right.
done. And he was talking, and I started talking with Bill, and he was just wonderful as well. And then the other guy was done with his sketch, and he left. So it was just Matt and I, basically. And we both got our book signed.
An Essential Moon Knight?
Yeah, I took my Essential Moon Knight and got that signed as well. And then I thought to myself, should I ask him about a sketch? Should I ask him about a drawing? I was like, he probably is way booked, my God. And then I asked him, and he said, no, I'm open. And I said, all right. So we made a deal. Well, of course, he asked me who I wanted, and I had to really answer. But so I sat there, and I talked with the guy for probably an hour, almost an hour, while he did this beautiful Moon Knight picture
It's gorgeous.
for me, which I'll put up on the web. I scanned it in this afternoon, but I didn't post it anywhere yet. But
You're going to get that professionally framed?
oh, you bet. I'll do it myself, but I mean, I'm definitely framing and hanging up. I already have his 7 original art pages and his Moon Knight portfolio that I have signed, and I'm putting it all up there, and I'm going to have my wall o' Moon Knight,
Yeah.
and
With some posters?
so
He did those gorgeous effects on it, man. God,
yeah, I mean,
mind
That's what I was
blowing.
going to say, that those effects for just knowing that, he did it within, a half an hour?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was just amazing.
I dare to call it a sketch. I mean,
No.
that's
No.
putting it bluntly. It's like a painting.
Oh, it
but
is a
black
painting.
and
It
white.
really is. It really
I
is.
mean, he just did this quick sketch with a pencil. I mean, and it wasn't like he was drawing the stick figure and all the. I mean, he just drew these shapes, and I'm like, wow,
I don't know
this
if I
is
would say
interesting.
black and white, though.
And then he took ink with a brush, and he just started
Throwing it on.
It was like painting. And then he left the areas white that he wanted to, and yeah, it was on white paper, not silver. Jackass. And then he uses to clean it up. He uses a whiteout marker, which I knew he did that a lot in his original artwork, because the pages that I have, he uses the whiteout stuff to produce effects and clean up spots here and there. And he starts defining, what he did with the ink, and that in itself was gorgeous. And then all of a sudden, he just starts like almost like a kid scribbling on a page, just laterally, just up. I mean, vertically, just up and down, up and down. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he's like, rain, 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 and all of a sudden, and then he started putting these little circles at the bottom and stuff, and as soon as he started doing it, it all just came together, and it's just this picture of Moon Knight squatting in the rain, and you see the rain dripping off his hood,
Yep.
and the drops hitting these little puddles and stuff, and it's
That's the amazing part of that picture. The
puddles.
the rain and the puddles just make it would be a great picture without it.
Oh, yeah.
But oh my God, when you showed that to me, it was like my mouth dropped. I was like, that is amazing.
I mean, I just was in awe. I mean, so that that was a capper for me. So that was my Moon Knight Saturday, and to meet him, and he wants to do the show, and
We also got to see the prototype
Yeah, of the
figure.
Of the toy for
Yeah.
the Diamond Sled.
and Legends
And Marvel Legends.
Yeah.
Yep.
which I'll be posting some information that I found out for both of those
Yep.
on my Yahoo group to clear up some clarifications on
Discrepancies.
discrepancies that people are curious about.
I have to say, I did try to get Charlie Houston to sign a Moon Knight poster with a silver Sharpie, but he used black, and then he realized what was going on with us. He said I should have brought, his white pen?
His
or
white
whatever?
pen.
Yeah. But no, I had a blast, and congratulations to him because, unfortunately, because of Friday, I wanted to go to the Mondo Marvel panel, and with our hotel situation and stuff, I didn't get back in time. And then after reading about it later on, I mean, Charlie is doing the Ultimate Spider-Man annual for this year, which is follow-up from the Warriors story arc from Ultimate Spider-Man, which is
Really?
Ultimate Punisher, Daredevil, Spider-Man, and Moon Knight in an annual story, and Charlie's writing that. And then
Cool.
he's also doing Ultimates. There's an Ultimates book that he's doing.
Oh,
so
nice.
They gave him a couple more assignments besides doing his Moon Knight stuff.
Then I'll tell you what, I'm glad we got to him this year, because next year he's going to be...
Yeah,
and I asked
untouchable.
Charlie, I said to him, are you enjoying it? What's it like? And he's just like, oh my God, and I said, get used to it. Just get used to it, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And after reading that information, I was like, absolutely so. It just cemented what I felt was going to happen to the gentleman. So
when I walked up to Kevin McGuire, I acted like a geek, and I said, it's because of you that I'm really into comics yet. And he's joking around saying, "Oh, don't blame it on us. Come on, here's another one." I took this old promo poster up that J.M. DeMatteis said, "I don't know that I remember seeing this." And just that same day, somebody else brought that same poster and had him sign it. So he had to. That was my big thing, meeting Kevin McGuire.
Yeah, one of my greatest moments kind of actually goes in with Sienkiewicz. I had gone over on Saturday in the morning. I got there early enough, and they let the press in early enough, so I got to go around and try to get some autographs of some people that had been big in line, like Mark Bagley. Had always been, like, a lot of people were in front of him, and when I walked down Artist Alley, there he was just sketching. Nobody was around him. So I wanted to get Sienkiewicz. I had brought the Moon Knight #1. So I go over to the Vanguard booth, and I see the doors had opened. I see this older gentleman sitting behind the table, and there's like a line of people. I'm like, who is that? And I went over and looked a little closer, and there's this book that they had sitting in front. And here, was Joe Simon, one of the co-creators of Captain America, along with Jack Kirby. And guys, 90 years old.
92 years old.
Okay, and here he is. He's sitting there signing the books. And I have a little bit of pet peeve to go with this, because the people in front had like stacks of books. We're talking, this is a 90-year-old man, and you're actually, if they were giving him Captain America from the 40s to sign, I would say, great, go for it. That's books he did. I saw one guy give him like the Black Terror. Okay, he did that book. DC's Sandman. Okay, he did that book. But they were handing him like recent issues of Captain America to sign. And it's just like, no. So the gentleman in front of me bought the book. Actually bought the signed book. I looked at it. I said, yeah, the book looked great, and I think it's from Vanguard. Next time we do a show where we're just talking about stuff, I'll get the exact name. It's $35, nice book. And I thought, yeah, I got to get this guy's autograph, because, he's 92 years old. And I said, yeah, I'll buy the book to the guy, and I think his son was with him. And his son goes, Dad, I didn't call him Dad. He said, Joe, we got to start signing these books. That's why you're here, to sign the books. So he signed the guys in front of me, and I said I wanted him to sign at the same spot. And he put in Joe's, to Jamie from Joe Simon, and then at the top he got done. He goes, "Don't need to put Captain America all the way." And I said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So he puts "Go Captain America all the way" at the top. And he shook my hand. And I just, that was like a geek moment. I just said, "Sir," I said, "I just want to thank you." I said, "For creating this character." I said, "I never got a chance in my life to thank Jack Kirby for his part in this, or never even got a chance to meet Jack Kirby." I said, "I am so honored to meet you." And he's like, "Well, thank you." And, I went on my way. But that was just such a moment that I'll never forget. It was just, meeting a true living legend like that. You don't forget stuff like that.
No, and that's what's cool about it. We finally got to meet a lot of people who've been on the show, that we actually got to meet them face to face. Chris Sotomayor and
Sal, Uncle Sal.
Uncle Sal.
And Story time with Uncle Sal.
Andy Schmidt and CB Cebulski, and the list goes on and on. That's what's great about that show. Everybody's there.
And not only meet them, but then we got invited to parties.
Yeah.
With them, and they treated us,
like we were there all the time.
Now you're talking about the stuff I remember the most about the show.
What are you talking about? After those couple shots of absence, I don't think you remembered anything.
Oh my God!
Truthfully, I remember more when I did those parties than I do at the Comic-Con.
But I got to meet, Scott Hanna.
Yeah.
I've seen him at shows all the time and stuff. He's been an inker and for comics for so many years, and I recognized him, and just so happened we were waiting to leave the one day, and we were all kind of conglomerating at the entrance, and I saw this guy like kneeling down, and I was like, holy mackerel, that's Scott Hanna. So I went up and introduced myself, and here I found out that they live like 40 minutes away from us, and his wife came over, and they were just some of the most amazing people. It was like next generation Gene Colan. I mean, they were that cool and that open and that wonderful, and
Yeah, she was a really nice lady.
oh, they were both just great people, and they wanted to stay in touch with us and
Invite us to their house for a
Yeah.
barbecue.
Oh my God, it's just amazing.
Don't
Absolutely
tease.
amazing.
I gotta say, even though I rag on his the books that he writes that I've read, Brian Michael Bendis was pretty nice. I saw him interact with a lot of fans, and I was waiting in line to go to the Civil War panel, and some fans kind of jumped him when he was working his way there, and he stood there for a couple minutes signing some things, some photographs, talking with some people, and he seemed like a really nice guy. But of course, every time I saw him, I was looking around the room and I just glanced in his direction. I kept thinking it was Vic Mackey from The Shield with the way he was dressed.
He does have that. He does have that Scott Mackey kind of look.
And you don't want Vic Mackey pissed at you, so I was like, oh, it's Brian Michael Bendis. I can't say anything.
No, he was cool. I talked to him, and then you talked to him later, and so he's very cool. And Brian and I got to talk to Alex Malev again, and so we got to revisit our experience from Wizard World Philly like 2 years ago.
He's fun. He was asking you about how should he do the Spider-Woman costume and everything. It was just kind of cool,
Yeah, he was just cool. I mean, he's one of those great guys too that you can just go to and talk to, and he's just a very cool guy. Great, very talented.
And of course, we can't mention the fact that we talked to Brian Michael Bendis without mentioning the fact that we found out he's a subscriber just like you guys out there. He's sitting there listening to us.
Hello.
And hey, Mike. Or
Hey,
Brian.
Mike.
Mike. I told you, I am freaking tired.
Brian Bendis or
Brian
Michael Bendis?
It's Mike to his
I
good
can call him
friends.
Mike.
He's on such good terms with him. He
Yeah.
calls him
I
by
call
his
him
middle
Mike.
name.
Yes, I call
Righto.
him Mike. Okay, so now he's not listening to us anymore.
No, that's it. You just screwed it all up.
And for me, the best part of the show was getting a hug from Maxim Glory. Right there.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
That was cool.
Yep.
I was so glad he was able to make it.
Yeah, it was good to meet him.
Him, his wife, and his kids. That was
Everybody
that was
we
a lot
meet,
of fun.
all the
Fiance.
fans, yeah,
You know
all
what?
the-
Every
you
single
don't want to
fan.
single anybody out, but it was good.
No, he was cool. I mean, the reason I say so is because he was, clamoring because he wanted to go. When he found out we were going and all this stuff was happening, he wanted to go, and he really didn't have, I guess some things that not in his favor to go, and he put a thread on the forum like, give me reasons why my wife should let me go. And
Would you see?
all
She
this
just
stuff.
joined the forum.
And she
Oh,
joined.
did she?
Yeah.
Is she? Cool.
So everything worked
it's
out.
fiance too. It's not wife.
Yeah, it's his fiance.
Sorry.
Don't want to get
Sorry.
married yet.
The fiançois.
But he brought his two children with, and
They were two
They were
great
cool.
guys.
yeah, it was wonderful. It's nice. I mean, everything was great. I had such a pleasant experience all 3 days.
yeah.
And the funny thing was,
And nights.
with
yeah.
at the time that he got there, we were that was like Saturday morning around like 10 o'clock or so, about 11, 12 o'clock, and some fans had been gathering before that. We've been selling T-shirts, and he got there, and there were people there. I mean, and not some of your more super fans that we have on the forum, who like looked over and goes, "You're Maxim Glory,"
Yeah.
and people were greeting him. It was like he was a rock star, and I was just beaming from ear to ear because I thought that was so cool. And then like Vince B was there and Marty DeVoy.
Well, did you read about their adventure? I hear they're going to do a sequel to Wedding Crashers called Comic-Con Crashers, and those two guys are going to star in it from the
Well, yeah,
extravaganza.
because what Marty got that one guy in. When,
Well, no, I was talking about the Frank Miller.
Oh, that's right. They crashed the Frank Miller line, and they were telling us he was. Oh, I won't even go in. I won't.
Yeah,
I
you
wasn't
can see it
there,
on the
but
forum
go
over
to the
there.
forum and read that because it was the stories they told us about that were funny.
They're crazy.
So yeah, I mean, along with meeting all these people, and it sounds like we didn't have fun meeting the fans. That
was
fans was
Top notch.
Just part of
was
the show
great.
for us, man. It was-
I mean, and everybody that walked up to us, I'm not even going to try to remember all the names
It was a lot of people.
of
was
people
a lot.
that walked up to us,
Tons.
but we appreciate each and every one of you for doing what you did, for coming up and saying hey, for buying the shirt, whether you bought the shirt or not. Mike, I know, definitely appreciates you because I saw a lot of those people that came up and bought shirts turn right around,
Bought
plunk
sketches.
down some money for a sketch, He thanks you.
I was taken back when the first person asked for a signature, our signature on our shirt.
Yeah, we actually
that
had
was
that.
very
Yeah.
surreal.
All right.
Very surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was Matt, Kevin, and I, and he's like, guys, like, can you sign it? I was like, yeah. So yep, there we go. Zoop, zoop, zoop,
Fortunately,
signed
I
it.
had my silver Sharpies along with, and we signed the black T-shirt under our little caricatures. And
That was crazy.
I
That
know,
was
cool.
I
It
don't,
was brilliant.
I don't handle that like even though it's like a tiny percent of stardom or fame or whatever you want to call it. I don't handle that real well. I'm like
Oh,
way
yeah.
too modest for that. It's like
That was really surreal.
thank you for listening. I don't know what else to say because like I'm just nobody. I'm just a comic guy. Like,
Yeah. I mean, and we had said before, there were people in the aisles just stopping us.
Yep.
Looking, they see the shirt and you're Jamie D. Yeah. Hey, I love the show. Love listening to. I'm so and so. And
I mean, I've had that happen before and stuff, but it is something when somebody come up and asks you for your autograph. I mean, freaking A, come on. But, I'll sign anything. God damn it, that's great,
It wasn't
Look
a big
at
deal,
me,
but
I
it
am
was just
beautiful.
like,
I'll take it.
someone wants a signature?
Yes.
I'll take it,
What
man.
for?
Mine?
It's a wonderful experience.
the
Oh,
thing that
yeah.
I was really cool that I was very pleased to see was a lot of the fans who came up and said hello and said, look, I don't post on the forum, but I'm just a listener, and it's like I tend to forget that there are people who don't post on the forum because we're so active with all the people who post
Right.
on the
Yeah.
forum. So I forget that there's like another 2,500 people out there
Yeah.
who don't post, and
That's totally
and
okay.
that was cool to meet some of them
Yeah.
and just get their opinions because we never hear their opinions.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that was cool to have a little conversation with them. And then the one guy, he gave me pictures at the last snowfall that we had a week ago with all the snow. He and his brother or his buddy, it's Isaac Goodhart. He and his buddy built like a life-size Batmobile
Yep.
from the
movies.
from like the Tim Burton
Yep.
movie.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh my god, out of snow, and he was a
That was
picture of him
cool.
sitting in it, like pretending to drive. It was awesome.
And there was a Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
they built a Superman sculpt.
Yeah,
Colored
like
his hair.
Arms
It's a
akimbo, all sitting there. Superman.
He even had the red on the
Right
S.
around the S,
Yeah, the,
black
like-
hair.
They had like spray painted the S, and he gave us I wanted to make mention of him because he gave us a comic he wanted our opinion on. So I was gonna.
Yeah, it's called Visions of Grandeur.
I want to read that, and I'm gonna email him and let him know what I thought. We also want to mention
Somehow now we're giving advice on
yeah, that's like, hey,
upcoming creators.
all I can say is, and I said this to the gentleman from Portugal when I was looking at it, his stuff, I'd buy the book. If he did a book and he did it the way he did it, I would buy that book.
Yeah.
And we were talking to Mike Norton about it, and that's what he said. He said it was very good. He gave me a look, and it's like, I'd buy a book. If he was drawing a book, I would buy it.
That's right.
So I mean, that's all I can tell him, and I guess that's really all we want. They want us. They just want to see what we think.
Other people's opinions.
Yeah. I also wanted to shout out to Randy Gentile, who does NYX Comics. It's on the Pixel Strips website. He does it. He put them together in a comic, and he wanted to make sure we got. Actually, he wanted to make sure I got one because I had made such a big deal out of his strip and thought it was good. And I sat down, even though I was real tired last night before I went to bed, and started reading a little of it. And I dig it. It's that guy doesn't think we do independence, man. You can't get much more independent than this. And just the subject matter and the style, and I think it's great. And I'm really looking forward to finishing it. When I'm done with it, I'm going to pass it around, let everybody look at it. It was great. Another listener of ours, I can never get his damn last name right. Chris, what is it? Eliopolis,
Yeah.
who's
He's
an
cool.
inker for Savage Dragon. He and Eric Larson were walking around. And actually, Randy Gentile does the lettering for Savage Dragon. He works with Chris. Chris did on the forum. He said he was going to be there, and I said, "Well, welcome to the forum," because I knew he hadn't posted much. And I said I'd love a sketch because right now he's doing that Franklin Richards, Son of a Genius,
Yep.
and I love that. I mean, that is so, it captures the Calvin and Hobbes feel, and I always thought his artwork did that. He did Desperate Times too from Image, and and Eric Larson published that too. And I've loved his stuff. And I said I wanted to sketch, so I hadn't gotten around to. I'd found him on Saturday, and we talked a little bit. And on Sunday, I come back to the stand from wherever I was, and I see Eric Larson standing there talking to people, and I see Chris there. And I come around and I say, hey, and then the guys go, hey, look what he did here. He took an entire page, an entire comic page, and did this splash. No, I won't say splash. It's like a cover of Franklin Richards. It's like you see a little smoke in the distance, and all of a sudden it goes down, and he's flying at you with like rocket boots or something. You see the little Herbie, and it says to Jamie, and it's gorgeous. I love
it. It's really cool.
It is cool. Yeah.
I was immediately jealous. I thought about not giving it to you, whiting out Jamie and writing my own name in. Yeah.
Yep, we all had that thought.
And I went to him, and this guy is so self-effacing, because I went to him, I was like, oh, thank you. I said, that's great. He's like, you think? I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I said, you are a great artist. I mean, you stop this. Because, yeah, I guess maybe you're right. He said they did order another Franklin Richards. So anybody out there who liked the Franklin Richards specials, there'll be another one coming out from him. And I think his artwork is great. I mean, it's not your typical superhero artwork. It's, like I said, as soon as I saw it, even back in the Desperate Times days, I thought, Calvin and Hobbes, and Calvin and Hobbes. It's just great stuff. So those are some of my impressions.
Plus, we met Power Girl.
Yeah, from that fan.
Power Girl with a push-up bra.
We also met one of our listeners who was in Artist Alley. It was Julian Lytle.
Yeah.
He had the comic Bud Wonder and Tony Go-Go, The Adventures of Bud Wonder and Tony Go-Go, which the art looked really cool on it, and Julian was a hell of a nice guy.
He was.
He came up from D.C. to pimp his book, and he just was really friendly and had some great artwork. I look forward to seeing some more from him in the future.
Most definitely.
You should if you're listening, Julian, you should post a few more like sketches and stuff on the forum, because I think you'll drum up some interest in your book, because it's cool stuff.
Yeah, if you see him at a show, definitely pick up his book.
God, I'm sure there's so much we're missing. I can't even.
And to anybody we don't mention, please.
Please don't take it personally.
Yeah, we hate your guts, man.
We didn't really care for you.
I mean, it was just. I mean, all in all, we just had a great time. I mean, it was nonstop. From Friday morning when we got there till Sunday late afternoon.
Literally nonstop, almost all night long.
Almost,
yeah. We almost made 24 hours from Saturday morning all the way through.
I know. I just wanted to get through all the other stuff, and I thought we would talk about that. So, you want to do that now?
Talk about
Mocha.
Yes, Brian and I had the wonderful pleasure of being invited to go to Mocha to experience the unveiling of the Todd McFarlane exhibit that they just opened up to the public on Saturday.
Yeah, Sean Grogan is the curator for that event, and he got in touch with me a little while ago, and we helped promote the exhibit. Not as much as I would have liked, because I was slacking there, but we did what we could, and Sean is a freaking hell of a nice guy, just totally cool. And so Kevin and I went up Saturday about a half an hour before the event started, and they let us right in, and we got to see all the stuff. Now, I think a lot of people were thinking, okay, what, do we need to see an exhibit of Todd McFarlane? Do we? Okay, I mean, Mr. Moneybags, blah 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 blah, whatever excuse they come up with, and part of me thought the same thing. I thought, okay, there's so many, like I thought I'd rather see an exhibit on Gene Colan, or I'd rather see an exhibit on, so-and-so. Then we got there, and Kevin and I immediately, it went around the room, and it was a chronological event of his career. Starting from the curio cabinet filled with letters, rejection letters. No. And there were all these things. Todd, in his career, got more than 700 rejection letters before he got hired. And
that's amazing.
He had, pictures, drawings from when he was in high school, and it sucked. I mean, it had some qualities that you could maybe tell that maybe this guy has a chance someday with many hard hours, because there's some people who just completely suck, and he drew a lot better at 16 than I ever drew at 16, so you could see the signs there. But when you started to look at it in that way, and you started to see, and you went around the room and saw all the detail and all the things, and he had all the art was handpicked by Todd himself, and each piece had a little description next to it, and then a paragraph or two by Todd, talking about some things. It gave me a much bigger appreciation than I ever had for the man's talent. Whatever you want to say about it, whether you like his style or not, he has some storytelling techniques and some ways to make a page stand out that he's talented, man. And the other thing that I learned, he created Spawn when he was 16 years old in 1977.
Yeah. And
he did not just come up with Spawn in 10 minutes when they decided to form Image, which was what I always thought. I always thought, oh, it's just some harebrained scheme he had. This was a lifelong dream of his to do this character. And whether you like Spawn or not, I'm not saying I want to go read Spawn now but now I can appreciate his dream, his vision. How much fun must it be for him to have all these toys and movies and everything? Because he came up with 16 as part of his whole life.
Yeah.
If I came up with something when I was 16, I'd be freaking jumping up and down doing backflips if I was a movie made out of it. Come on. So I got some respect for the guy now. And
I mean, I kind of went into it, going like, okay, I'll go, and it's not something I was like, yeah, I can't wait to go there. I was all sucked in by McFarlane in the late 80s and 90s, and from his stuff I had his stuff from Coyote from Marvel, and I know he was on Scorpio Rose, and then went to Infinity Inc. and and then went to Hulk, and and then eventually went to Spider-Man, and which was my character and at the time and had been for a long time, and when he came on, it was just this explosion, that just rocked it, and then he went on to Spawn, which I followed right after that, and was buying and reading that book as well. And then I kind of tapered off and didn't buy it anymore. But I always respected the man for what he accomplished, for taking one character, one comic book, and creating such a huge empire that nobody has ever done that in comics ever before. So I always had an admiration and respect for the man, because not everybody has done that. I mean, he was, in some ways, when you go to the exhibit, it's some misfortune, but yet he was so fortunate because it was timing, his talent, everything led to where he went to be. I mean, the man, like you said, love him or hate him, you cannot take away from what he's accomplished and who he is. And
well, how many people would have the wherewithal to go through 700 rejection letters?
Exactly.
Most people would give up by 7 or 17.
Even 100.
They'd never get to 700 rejection letters. The guy just wanted to draw comics.
And to put it in perspective, he would say, he made little tables, like little checklists, and he had it so organized that he would write down these tables. He would write down who he sent a submission to, check mark if he got a return from it, and stuff. So he kept track of everything he did. He was that meticulous with everything. And you saw it. In this glass case was Marvel, Pacific Comics, DC, Maggie Thompson.
Yeah, he sent one to Maggie Thompson, Mike Grell. So all these names on the that he sent. And people wrote, you can tell it was the early 80s. They were handwriting reply letters, and they weren't like form letters. No. It was like, whoa, geez, and he kept them all, which is really cool.
And he states that, he would take something from every letter he received that people would, look at his stuff and say, hey, you can improve here. This is something that, and, he said, he's getting all these letters that he was doing 10 things wrong. And then, he would get more letters as he would keep more submitting, and then it was 5 things wrong. He just kept going until, people were saying more and more positive things about it. And next thing you know, he finally got a break. And, then you got to watch him go through his process of being an artist and then wanting to ink his own stuff, that he was that controlling, that, he's so... I can't even think of the word about his own work.
Meticulous?
It's beyond meticulous. He's so conscientious of what he does, and he sees it a certain way, and that's how he wants it to be. And one of the things he said about how the inkers that were on his book, some did justice, some didn't, but nobody was able to capture what he wanted when he would see it. So he wanted to start inking his own work, and he had to push to do that. And so everything was an uphill battle for this guy. I mean, and to put it all in perspective too, he wanted to go to college, and he went to college on a baseball scholarship. So I mean, not only as somebody who wants to do something, but this guy, it seems to me like no matter what he wants to do, he puts his mind to it and he makes it happen. And you see that in evidence throughout this whole, because it's like you start at one end of the room and you walk around the whole room, and it's like, this is your comic life, Todd McFarlane, from from your early teenage years until the present, and then it goes all the way through all this comic stuff, and then it goes into storyboarding, into the action figures, into the animation, into the movies, into the projects coming out now, and stuff he's doing in the future. And after walking through it, with Brian and I, fortunately we were able to do it without a crowd there, and we were able to do it just by ourselves, and we got to talk to the people behind the scenes, the volunteers and such, and the people who put together. Jim Salicrupt is part of it, who actually was Todd's editor on Amazing Spider-Man and stuff, and we got to talk to them as well. I was just in awe. I really was in awe. I mean,
yeah, me too.
I couldn't help but not be. And then they had a DVD, which I wish I could have bought, but they weren't selling that. Todd had produced it. I don't know if it's ever going to be available. I hope it somewhat is, but it goes through his whole life, from as a child all the way up to the present, and you see him working and such. But I mean, it showed pictures of him, and the guy grew up in a trailer park, and to see him persevere, and then to get his baseball scholarship and go to college, and while he's doing this, he's still submitting and doing artwork. And like you said, they had a bunch of pictures. They showed his one picture that he had a Batman, I guess back in the 80s, that Comics Journal published as a fan art thing, and that was one of his things that I guess was his first published piece, and it was just great. I mean, I love the way it was set up. They did a super job presenting everything, the way they laid it all out, the way it was all presented to you, the way you got to experience it. It's like walking through his life, realistically. And
we just learned about the Mocha period, and what a fantastic thing. First of all, the Todd McFarlane exhibit runs until May 1st, and the Mocha is open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday from 12 to 5, and then they have Mocha Mondays, which is in the evening. They said it kind of varies, from 6 to 7 till like 9 to 10 or something, and it's free admission on Monday night. So if you're in New York, you gotta go see this show.
Their address is Mocha Gallery at 594 Broadway between Houston and Prince, Suite 401, New York, 10012.
It's just off the Broad and Lafayette subway stop.
Yeah,
half a block.
Easy.
Not even half a block.
Yeah, very easy to get there. And I joined, and I became a member. They have memberships. There's different types of memberships you can get, which also gives you, each membership has a different level, gives you different benefits. On special events, like the Saturday night event, Todd McFarlane was there, and that was open to the public, and those tickets were $15 a piece. If you were a Mocha member, you only paid $5. So there are benefits, different things. There's different events outside of the Friday through Monday thing, and that also gives you benefits as that way. But check out their website, and if you're in the area or going to New York on vacation or visiting, going to whatever, take a couple minutes to go check that out. It is well worth it. I mean, and support them. They do sell the comics, the T-shirts, and the posters. Which helps fund all the events that they have. And that's so between the memberships and the product that they put out, the limited edition products that they put out while the exhibits are running, are what fund the museum at this point. So of course they're always looking to expand. They're always looking to do bigger and better things. They have goals that they would like to do and make the museum, more than what it is now. But
when the graciousness of volunteers also to run it.
Yeah, everything is all volunteer. I mean, so the only way they make money is between the memberships and the products that they sell. So
I was talking to them on Sunday, and the next exhibit is 100 Years of Women in Comics.
Right. And isn't it? It changes.
Changes every couple months.
Yeah.
I forget how.
They run an exhibit for X number of months, and then they have
But I'm
another
saying
one.
in regards to that Women in Comics thing, aren't they doing certain?
Oh, he didn't explain that. I'm not
I
sure.
don't know. But check.
There'll be more information on that as it comes closer.
I know I was talking to somebody about it, and I thought I interpreted that they were going to do specific focuses and such with the women in comics thing. That not all at one time, but at different times. I don't know how long that is planned out, but it was great. I thank them very much for inviting us to come over and experience it, because I really, really loved it. Brian and I were both walking around really having a blast, enjoying the way everything was done and how grateful everybody was. So definitely check it out.
All right, I guess you have anything else to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank some of the people that invited us, some of the after parties we did attend. It was Peter, myself, Shane, Tasha, Matt, and
Adam.
Our hanger-on Adam. Just kidding, Ed. We went to the Crazy Comics get-together they had, that independent, bunch of different independent comics were together. They had it one of the pubs, and that was really nice. We got there, fortunately, after the food, but there's still some cakes. We had cake and some drinks, took some pictures, met some guys, and I don't have the names. Peter has the names. I'm sorry, but they were all a cool bunch of guys who really dug us, and I dug the stuff that they were doing, and some of the comics they had up there were really kind of cool. And I can remember Sentinels was one.
Sentinels and Dracula versus King Arthur. I'm kind of interested in that one.
Yeah, so some of those guys, there's some guys that are good guys. If you see their stuff, check it out.
A lot of fun.
Independent comics, and then we went to the Pop Culture Shock.
Yeah, they did
party.
They did a party at the Bowery. It's a poetry club.
Yep, that was a cool venue.
Yeah,
I thought
cool.
that was a really cool venue.
And it was all to help support, like the NYCC Mech.
Yep, they had a whole bunch of comics that I guess they represented some of the creators, and the big people that were there were the guys from NYCC Mech, that's put out by Image. And then they had like a slideshow that they kept repeating, and there were a bunch of comics from there that I'm gonna
definitely
check out. There was one called Action Philosophers, which they actually had to stand there at the show, and I went over and looked at some of their books, talked to them here. They're actually listeners of ours, and it looked like a mix between Evan Dorkin and just the whole subject matter of action philosophers, like Plato and Confucius, and I'm gonna check it out. I'll have the website ID next time I come, because I forgot the card. I wanted to bring the card along, but you can actually read the comics online to see if you like them. They put like a page up a week or something like that. The guy was telling me. So they were there, and then there was another one that everybody knows my affinity towards monkeys. There was one called Monkey in a Wagon versus Lemur on a Big Wheel. And just the page of artwork they had up there, I think was Chris Moreno was the artist. The only reason I remember is because we were sitting there and the music was so loud he could hardly talk, and that was really all there was to look at. You were talking to people, but when you weren't talking, that was all there was to look at. And I'm pretty sure it was Chris Moreno. Just looked hilarious. They had it was like a showdown between a monkey in a wagon and a lemur on a big wheel. And so I've got to find that somewhere. I've got to go online. I just haven't had a chance to. But I want to thank those guys too. That was a cool party. The Devil's Due people were there. We met up with them there, and we were talking to them for a little while.
Yeah, thank you so much, Guy, and his crew, Howard, and all the guys that invited us all to that, and it was a blast. And
we closed down that place.
Yeah, we did. Well, it was only supposed to be from 10 to 12 because that's all they had time allotted. But then whatever was supposed to have been planned from 12 to 2 canceled out. So when we got there, Guy said, "Hey, we got the whole place for the whole night." So I was like, "All right." So we ended up staying until it closed, and
that was Peter, Kevin, myself, Matt, and Murd again.
Yep, I bailed out.
A very sleepy Murd who fell asleep.
I went back and slept
quite a few times on us.
But no, it was a great thing. It was a neat thing to do. And one of the things that stuck out to me was the NYCC Mech, Andy McDonald's artwork that they were flashed a lot of his stuff up on the slides too, and that was really cool. So I want to check some of his stuff out too.
Yeah, next time I go to this shop, I'm gonna try to see what they have of that too.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Guy, for the invite and for hosting that party. That was really cool.
Yeah.
I want to give a quick shout out to Jim Hanley's store. We've got to visit that, and I'd never been there. And that's a very nice store. That's very well set up. It gives a good argument for comics in alphabetical order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we also went to Midtown Comics, which I've been going there off and on whenever I'm in New York for the past, 5-7 years, and I love that freaking store. And
yeah, I got to get to that one. I missed that one this time.
So there's plenty to do. I mean, you'll never go, but that's the thing about it. You're in New York, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff to do out the wazoo. So, I mean, you won't be bored. You won't be... And it's the comic heartbeat. It's the mecca of the world.
It's the creation of the whole thing.
I mean, it's there. So I really do hope that everything pans out for them. I realize the glitch that they had, and I know some people would sit there and go glitch, but I'm like, yeah, glitch, that it's a growing pain.
Yeah,
they'll learn, and they've stepped up to the plate by supporting those people that unfortunately, had that situation happen to them. And they're making up for it, doing the best they can to, and they'll make it up next year. They'll do it next year.
They're in for the long haul.
Hey, look at it this way. It could have been worse. It could have been overly planned and not a big turnout.
And nobody showed up.
So at least...
Or not enough people showed up, and then there would be no show next year.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of flack on the forum because I posted in defense of the show saying that it was still a successful show. In my opinion, it was still a successful show. Having to turn people away at the doors means the show made as much money as it could possibly make. And I'm not now. I know people are going to say, well, if that's the only reason you put on a comic, well, of course that's the reason Reed Exposition is putting on a comic show. They don't care about comic books. They want to make money, and comic shows wouldn't happen if people didn't want to make money. Yeah. So that's going to be the bottom line.
Comic books wouldn't be made if people wanted to make money.
Yeah, exactly. So that that's their and there's some people are saying on the forum, well, it's clear that you want to defend your sponsor. Now, I'm not defending their sponsor. Yes, they sponsored us. And yes, we made a deal that I cannot, reveal on the air. But but that's not the point. The point is, I'm saying it was. I feel I was there. I witnessed things. I feel it was out of the hands of the convention. They can't. If this year at San Diego, 200,000 people show up when they normally have 115,000 people, they're gonna have to turn people away. Right. People will not be able to buy tickets at the door if that many people show up. It's just. It happens. Maybe they should have expected more, but they didn't, and this is what happened, and next year they'll plan for it. And I'm not defending them. I'm just saying you can't plan for every possible contingency.
And I wonder if it's some part, the influence of the industry and the way that comics are getting better. I mean, there's more interest, there's more quality things being produced. So, I mean, there's more interest. There's more people getting into it. So,
well, they took every chance to promote it as well.
Exactly. They did a very good job.
They wanted to get the word out, and they did a great job of that.
So, just like everything else we do on the show, we talk about and we voice our opinions and such. We're not being steered in any direction by anyone. It's just what we felt and the experience that we reflected upon. And I'm looking forward to next year.
Absolutely.
To me, it was growing pains. It was just the first show, and they have definitely I was blown away when Brian told me today that they were offering, along with the money back, which they got to do, that they were offering a free pass to next year. Yes. That they don't have to do. They it's just one of those, hey, sorry you didn't get in, here's your money back, come see us next year. But they took that extra step to rectify the situation, and you got to cut them some slack. Yeah, you can. I understand if I was one of those guys that had traveled up to New York and had my ticket, had already pre-ordered it, and hadn't gotten in and had been turned away, I'd be pretty pissed too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just think, like last year when we went to San Diego, if we had bought our plane tickets, bought our hotel for 4 days, already paid for all that stuff, and got there and went, sorry, you can't come in. I mean, I'd be running around in circles, shooting fire out of my ass. I'd be so angry.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know that, and I would certainly think twice about flying all the way to San Diego again. But if you live in freaking Long Island and you took the railroad in and you got turned away, even if you did pay your $35, and the train cost you $20, and you had to take the, and you bought lunch for $8 or whatever, you still spent $50 and you were still pissed. You could still be pissed. And there's some people who flew in from other places and did buy a hotel, and no doubt they're pissed. It's a first freaking year. Give them a chance.
It's that was only Saturday too, though. I mean,
it didn't happen.
If you flew in from out of state or whatever, and you bought a 3-day pass.
You got a priority for Sunday.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
if you didn't make it Saturday, you got in Sunday. So it's not like we're talking. I don't want people to misunderstand and think that this is a total loss, that people came in from out of town and didn't get to go at all. Some of them people, they missed Saturday, and maybe there was a panel or something they really wanted to go to.
Well,
but you still got the same experience Sunday with less crowd. It wasn't as crowded.
It was nicer on Sunday.
Yeah.
By 4 o'clock, though, it had thinned out enough. They started letting people in then, too. So people that were latecomers to Saturday and stay till Sunday, they still got a Saturday experience. So
they did the best they could with what was happening at the time, and it's just something. What are you going to do? You can't change it now.
I don't. There's no one person to blame.
No, and it didn't just affect the fans. It affected everybody. It affected panels. It affected events. It affected people getting in and out of the place, going for a bite to eat. Everybody. Yeah. It was just a growing pain, just like Jamie said.
It made me buy the damn food in the area.
It was all a giant conspiracy.
Yeah, to buy food
get you to buy. I bet you buy a $4 hot dog.
And a $3 can of soda.
Did anyone go to any of the panels besides myself?
Yeah, I went to the DC 52 1 million. The
1 year later.
No, it was the last Infinite Crisis one. And then the afternoon was going to deal with 52 and everything. And it was good. It was... You have to go to a panel like that, and you cannot expect to be given all the information. I mean, people that do are silly. I mean, it's
Jackass
more...
Joneses.
It's more fun to watch.
I'd go with Matt on that one.
Well, yeah, it's like, what's going to happen with this character?
Yeah. It's more fun to watch Dan DiDio, Keith Giffen, Phil Jimenez, Jeff Johns, all banter back and forth. And if I'm forgetting somebody, I'm sorry. But banter back and forth and tease everyone and look at the excitement they have. Yeah, they want to tell this stuff, but why would they? Why would you want to know any of this stuff? It keeps the suspense going. It's good storytelling, and they want to do it in the most effective way possible. So you go and you listen, you have a good time, you get to see these people in person, and that's what you need to take away from it. Don't expect to be given the story, because you're never going to. And even if they give you an answer, don't believe it.
Well, you don't even want anything. Read the freaking comic.
Read the comic.
Out.
So there was. I have to say, there was a
2 months away.
I think what happens is people get there, fans get there. They go to these panels and they want to ask a question and they just can't think of what to ask.
Yeah.
So
No, I disagree. You know what it is?
I'm not saying it's everybody's like that.
No. Because I've been in those panels, and it's the same kind of guy who asks these questions every time. It's your stereotypical complete loser with no social skills who gets up and be like, "Is the Blue Beetle gonna die?" Yeah, they're going to tell you that. Yeah. They're going to tell you. Yeah, Superman gets anally raped, and the world blows up, and the whole DC universe is destroyed, and we're going to produce Archie comics now. Okay, is that what? Yeah,
we
that's
have the issues right here. You want to come up and look
on. It's the same freaking
now I don't
guy
have to read the
every
rest
time.
of Crisis.
There was a guy who during DC's panel at Philly. What's going to happen in 52? We didn't even get Infinite Crisis yet. Why do you want to worry about that? Let's get through one thing at a time.
There's another guy for that same panel at Baltimore that said, what's going to happen, in 2007? And Dio's like, well, can we get through this event first?
Yeah.
Isn't this big enough for you?
Now I have to say, Phil Jimenez was very funny. One guy stood up and said, it's really easy to entertain everybody for 7 issues, but what are you going to do for 52 weeks? And Phil Jimenez promptly leaned in, it's not that easy for 7 issues, believe me. And it was a riot. It was just a great panel. I wish I could have gotten to the other one, but that's the way it is. I wasn't going to walk out when there was a chance of problems being outside. Yeah. But it was worth. Panels are great. I love them. They're entertaining and fun. And Dan's lightning round, Joe Q's panel, they're all fun. You just got to take it with a grain of salt. And for me, I get to see a face to these people's names that I normally wouldn't.
I must say, I went to the Civil War panel, and they kind of gave you a little bit more information this time around.
That's what they want you to think.
Well, when we went to the Baltimore and before Infinite Crisis came out, I felt as though I got more information about the upcoming event from Marvel than I did from DC when we went to Baltimore. Not enough that they're telling you the whole story, but they basically let you know, gave you an idea of, expect big stuff. Not everyone's going to make this out alive, and there's, I know how Brian is with no spoilers whatsoever, but they had a nice slideshow of just some of the images that are in the Marvel preview. And, there's some questions based on that, and somebody even asked if Moon Knight was going to be affected in it. But, I felt they gave you a little bit more information about it. They took a small jab at DC, but I'm sure DC did the same to Marvel. But it was pretty informative. It was the only one that I went to, but I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the series.
That's the fun of it, though. I mean,
panels are always great.
I don't think these days. I really don't think there's malicious jabbing.
No.
There's fun. There's cooperation between the companies, or else you wouldn't have certain writers and artists. You wouldn't have Keith Giffen plotting out Infinite Crisis in 52 and working on Civil War and Annihilation. Is he working? I know he's working on Annihilation. You wouldn't have that. I mean, it's playful banter, and that's the way it should be. There's enough love to go around.
It's all good though. I mean, you go to these panels and you get to see upcoming covers.
Oh,
you get to hear them announce projects that are going to be coming out and stuff. I mean, that's what I enjoy. And then the other panels, you get to sit and watch creators and people behind the scenes sit there and discuss certain topics. And some of the best convention experiences I've had are some of those panels, and some of them I fell into by accident. I stumbled upon them, and so panels are always a very important part of the show.
It was thrilling in Philly to be there when they announced Adam and Andy Kubert. I mean, you couldn't get a better vibe from that. It's just fun.
It was pretty cool because they were ripping on each other too. So that's kind of good that you see that they're they're getting along and that they're
have their own little fun going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
All right. So I think that's the end of the con wrap up.
It's a wrap-up of the wrap-up.
It's a wrap.
So we got, in lieu of a Stump the Rios here, because, Rios isn't here.
He's doing his other job.
We got a submission from Brad Milo and Frank Rincon. They sponsored an episode a little while ago. Funny thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they did the Hulk hostess pie thing that we played for Mark Evanier.
Yep.
And they have sent us a song called Comic Wednesday.
Oh no.
So I haven't even listened to it myself yet, so let's get ready.
Comic Wednesday, reading in the late afternoon. Call Flashlight just to see how he's doing.
Hello.
What up, Light?
Yo, Edit, what's cracking?
You thinking what I'm thinking?
Comic Geek.
Then it's happening.
These Brian Michael Bendis books are making my heart race.
Let's hit up the comic shop and pick up some pulse trades.
No doubt the Comic Geeks tackle all the tough issues.
I love that show so much that I'm gonna need a tissue. Tissue.
Brian,
Peter,
James,
Kevin,
Matt,
Jamie D. I'm laughing so hard that it makes me want to pee.
Yo, what episode's playing?
Number 105, dude.
Well, my favorite is the Gene Colan interview.
I prefer Peter David.
That's a good one, too.
Stan Lee's is the greatest.
True that.
Double true.
Got the Gotham Central trades by Baker and Rucka.
Where'd you get them from, Light?
It's like trades, motherfucker. What? Geek Speak Podcast.
Yes, the comic.
What?
Geek Speak Podcast.
We love the comic.
What?
Geek Speak Podcast.
Download that comic.
What?
Geek Speak Podcast. I got an iPod Shuffle. Bananas overpriced.
You got the one gig?
Gonna load it up nice.
Don't want the boss man to get suspicious.
If he called me downloading, he would get malicious.
Reading topics on the forum, just enjoying the show.
Newbies acting like they never read a comic before.
It's all about the message boards, baby.
Put the link on the page.
And I'm posting like crazy.
Spent all that time trying to get Mario on the phone.
Don't know what the deal was.
But that guy was never home.
Something Rios up next. He knows trivia something fierce.
Which outsider's name is Jefferson Pierce.
He answered so fast it was frightening.
Our jaws hit the floor when he screamed.
Black lightning!
Quiet in the office or it's gonna get tragic.
We're about to get taken to a dream world of magic. It's a comic.
What?
Geek Speak Podcast.
Yes, the comic.
What?
Geek Speak Podcast.
We love the comic.
What?
Geek Speak Podcast.
Download that comic.
What?
Geek Speak Podcast.
Yeah. Fantastic. We need to get a soundtrack going.
Freaking brilliant. Freaking swear.
Frickin' swear to the
Definitely.
nth degree.
To the max.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
I have tears in my eyes.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
That made me laugh so hard I gotta pee.
Whew.
that's brilliant.
Thank you.
Freaking guys are brilliant.
We need to make an album.
That's it.
I think we got to just end the show right there. We're not
CGS
gonna.
soundtrack.
There's no topping that.
Oh my god.
We'll have to play that again on a future episode, and that needs an encore for sure.
You bet.
Wow.
I got to put that on my iPod.
Wow.
It's Comic What Geeks Podcast.
Well, thank you, Brad and Frank. That was fantastic. If you want to send us an email, it's comicgeekspeak@gmail.com, and the website is comicgeekspeak.com. A big thanks to our sponsor, Pittsburgh Comic-Con, where in just a few months we'll be bringing you more convention wrap-up, but this time from Pittsburgh. That's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd in Pittsburgh. Yeah. I guess by the time this airs, it'll be March, so vote for us at Podcast Alley again. Huh? Oh, Book of the Month. Yeah, our Book of the Month for March is V for Vendetta. So get that at InStockTrades.com for 40% off.
If you so choose.
No, they have to. I'm making.
It's the law.
We're going to send Maximum Glory to their house to beat them up if they don't buy it.
I am the law.
And
it is Luke Cage.
Afro
and chains.
And thanks for the New York Comic Con for.
Yeah, thanks
to everybody at New York Comic Con.
Yeah, it was great.
And the people at Mocha.
Yep.
Everybody.
Just everybody we ever met in our entire lives.
That's right.
Yeah.
And a reminder that we're brought to you in conjunction with WorldFamousComics.com, your spot on the internet for the best comic book and entertainment-related columns, contests, features, reviews, news, resources, and more. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.